Hey team, welcome to the channel, man. As always, I'm stoked and pumped up to see you. So, sitting here at the barracks, it's on the weekend, and Riggs and I just came by to do just a little leaders check and presence, and wanted to check on a few things and have some conversations with some fellas. And I think it's important issue to discuss, and I wanted to tell you right up front that what I'm going to share is not official Army anything. It's my views and my representations. Because we're going to talk about something that may be a little sensitive, and it should be sensitive area, right? We're going to talk about SHARP, sexual harassment, sexual assault. And I want to talk through maybe some situational questions and some vignettes, if you will, to try to help discuss what some processes and procedures are. Maybe you're getting ready for a promotion board or a competition board, or you just want to help the dialogue in your own team about this particular area. If that's what you're into, man, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you can stay up to date on some future content. Riggs is in the back seat. We're just playing fetch with a few soldiers. He's a little tuckered out, and it is raining outside. As you can see, my windows all fogged up. So this is a subject area. Of course, it is outlined in AR 600-20, and if you want policy procedure, make sure you dig into that. In this one, I want to talk more story, if that makes sense, and try to help unpack a few things. Maybe put some handles on some stuff that we can pick up. This is an area that we discuss in every single promotion board, and every single time it's a situational question. For example, maybe you're on CQ and a soldier comes up to you and says that they believe that they may have been sexually assaulted the night prior, or that they were sexually assaulted. What do? Ready, go. So this is an area, that you got to be prepared to talk about. And I think because we don't talk enough about story and vignettes and how to deal with life, sometimes all we do is we talk about reporting procedures, and we kind of get lost in the number one thing that's the most important aspect of dealing with this sort of trauma. And that's the care and welfare of that soldier. Does that make sense? So if I ask you that question, somebody thinks that they've been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted, what do? Ready, go. The very first thing that you want to do is ensure the safety of that service member. That may mean, based off the situation, to escort and care for that soldier away from a particular premise, especially if they don't feel that they're in a safe environment. Get them someplace where they feel safe and as comfortable as they can be, and knowing that they're not going to have to deal with that perpetrator. Does that make sense? You don't want to leave somebody alone. You don't want to ask questions like, how are you doing? I'm not doing well, man. I just got raped. Do you see how that kind of question can become even more corrosive? So we want to be cautious in what we're saying and how we're talking about it. Of course, statistics would tell us that 90% of all sexual assaults happen in some sort of quarters, whether it's in a barracks or whether it's in a home or something of this nature. And so we need to be mindful of that. And that's why leader presence is important in these areas, and having open and candid conversations is super important. So we want to make sure that service member feels like they are in a safe environment as they can. Now, if it's a peer-to-peer kind of thing, then you're not a mandatory reporter. But if you happen to be in that NCO support channel or chain of command, you are obviously a mandatory reporter. So in this process of making sure that somebody is safe, you need to ensure that you're informing your chain of command and your NCO support channel, because there's a lot of things that they get triggered with this sort of event. And I want to tell you right up front, if you're a mandatory reporter, man, this is not an event that you can carry the burden of. It's not a burden that the Army or the service wants you to carry. You don't have to walk through this alone, and you cannot afford to not have a conversation with your chain of command. I hope that makes sense. So you want to talk to that service member and get what do you want to do? Can I take you to a medical provider? I will go there with you. Here we can make sure that you are physically okay, that you don't have a risk of any sort of medical complication. Of course, this could include things like STDs or unintended pregnancy, things of this nature. would you like me to call the SARC or the VA on your behalf? I can get somebody on. I can call the hotline. I can get in touch with the chaplain. Get you in touch with whoever it is that you're most comfortable with speaking with right now. Of course, I'm here for you. I'm not going to leave you alone, but man, I'm not a professional in this. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a victim advocate. But I want to be here with you and for you as much as I can be, because you don't have to walk through this alone. So we want to do things like consider medical care, behavioral health care. And so the resources that you have right off the bat would be things like getting to an emergency room, getting in touch with your SARC or VA, talking to a chaplain. Of course, on that note, right, chaplains cannot receive a report, but they do offer 100% confidentiality, 100%. You do have hotlines that are available on every single post, as well as civilian hotlines that are out there for sexual assault. And once somebody decides, if they choose, like if they go in and they talk to a VA, the VA is going to ask them if they would like to file a restricted or unrestricted report. And the same thing with your chaplain, right? Behavioral health professionals and medical professionals cannot receive a report. So the only people who can actually receive those reports and process them and begin to file them are your SARCs and your VAs, right? And CID can as well. But of course, CID, once they're involved, that is an absolute unrestricted report. So again, the biggest thing that you want to try to ensure is that the individual feels like they have as much power in the situation as they can possibly have. Who do they want to speak with? Who do they want to talk to? Where would they like to go? If they're in the barracks, can we get you out of here into a safe environment? Who would you like to speak with? Who are you most comfortable sharing this? Because once this happens, right? Once a service member begins to unpack this, maybe it is with a VA, and they wish to file. Let's just say they start off, they don't know, they just want, I want to do a restricted report. Then they're going to recount this, right? They're going to relive the experience by recounting it to the VA. And if they choose to have it to be an unrestricted report, then CID is going to get involved, and they're going to relive that with them as well. And the CID, right? These guys have a job to do. They're not necessarily friends or not friends of anybody, but they have a specific job to do, and their specific job is to find facts, open up a case, and begin an investigation, right? So they're going to ask very abrupt, to-the-point questions of that victim. And that's not to say that they shouldn't be talking to CID. If somebody wants some sort of accountability of that perpetrator, it has to be unrestricted, right? With a restricted report, there's never going to be an investigation. The report that ends up getting filed is simply going to tell the command, all the way to include your garrison command, that an event happened. But if they choose to file an unrestricted report, the same process begins, but other outside agencies come into place. Again, we have CID, we have special victims counsel and advocates that will get involved. You got medical providers and behavioral health, and maybe even potentially FAP cases or FAP personnel that will help get involved into the situation. So a lot of times I've seen on boards where people begin to stumble through this, and they have a hard time discussing what they should do, what they should not do. And you should know as an NCO, and every leader should know what reporting options are for sexual assault. And again, that's restricted and unrestricted. If a person tells a battle buddy, that is not a mandatory reporter. And if it's not, again, then you are a mandatory reporter. If somebody tells me I am a mandatory reporter, there's only a couple people that could confide in me as a battle buddy, and that would be my peers, right? So if we're dealing with something, and I think, when it comes to to vignettes or things of this nature. It could even be, hey, I think something may have happened last night. I'm not sure what may have happened. Maybe I do know what happened. Maybe something happened to me 6 months ago, and now I want to talk to you about it. The same sorts of things are going to apply nearly regardless of the situation. Maintain safety of that individual, give them as much control, and let them have all the options, and take them to people that they feel the most comfortable and confident in speaking with. If they're talking to you as a peer, as that battle buddy, and you're not, in this case, a mandatory reporter, then you need to know that if you open up your mouth to anybody, that other individual is going to be a mandatory reporter. I've seen cases, unfortunately, happen throughout my career, and people habitually, whether it's on like a DEOC survey or just a Q&A session, maybe it's a panel that's happening, that don't understand the reporting requirements. And sometimes we say the reporting requirements and procedures and options all the time, to the point where we don't know, even though we said it 1,000 times. So it's important to dig in and to understand, but more importantly, as that leader and as that friend, as that peer, as that battle buddy, that you understand what you can and can't do and what sort of services that you can provide. And if you're unsure and you're on the receiving end, then again, that's why you pick up a phone. That's why we have things covered on boards all throughout our facilities, whether it's in the motor pool, the barracks, your COF area, battalion, all over the place, right? So if you don't know, then go find one of those tags and call that victim advocate, call that SARC, and get some guidance. Call your chaplain. Say, what do I do now? I'm with Specialist Smith, and they just confided in me that they were sexually assaulted, and I've got them in a safe place, and we've been talking, and I just want to see, what do I need to do next? Because again, this is not a burden that you can carry yourself. Talking about sexual harassment, man, you got formal and informal, and there's some different ways for informal ways that things can be taken care of, whether it's direct, third party, or chain of command. And of course, they can always see a SARC or VA to file a formal complaint. Man, I hope you enjoy the content of this conversation. I hope that you feel that and I hope that this is a conversation that you are having with your team and your peers in your organization, because it is super important, man. A lot of times, we sit in classes and we assume that it's never going to happen on my watch. But statistics tell us that it does, and that it has in the past. Odds are, statistics would tell us that there's probably 1% of your formation who are predators, who have already sexually assaulted somebody. And there's upwards of 10, 15, and some statistics would tell us that 20% of the population have been sexually assaulted in their life. Whether it's a molestation from their childhood, whether it's happened in the civilian place, or whether it's happened in the military. If somebody feels that they've been sexually assaulted by a civilian, the same process and benefits and services are available to those service members. But who conducts the investigation may be out in town. It could be joint. That's neither here nor there. What's important, again, is safety of that individual, and that they understand their reporting options, and that they understand that all the benefits apply and services apply to that individual. Again, medical, mental, spiritual, emotional. Nothing changes just because of the event or the circumstance. Nothing's going to change if they want to file a restricted report. Same benefits or services apply. So if you enjoyed it, man, leave some comments down below. That way we can continue to keep this conversation rolling. I appreciate all you guys, man. You stay out there, you keep grinding, and you